Keanu Reeves didn't come to his restaurant, Quiet Flame, to be seen by others. It was after 10 p.m. when he quietly walked in through the side door of his own place. He didn't have any bodyguards with him. No cameras. Just the smell of rain still on his coat. The workers were used to him doing this. They didn't stop him. He liked it that way. Tonight was supposed to be like every other quiet night. He would walk around, say a few words to the night staff, then sit at his usual table with a glass of water. No talking. Just peace and quiet. But sometimes, silence can hide things. And if you listen carefully, you can hear them. He heard a sound. Very soft. High-pitched. Like a tiny voice trembling. Keanu stopped walking in the hallway behind the kitchen. He was standing near some aprons and storage boxes. At first, he thought it was just the noise from the big fridge. But this sound was different. It sounded scared. It sounded human. He stayed still. He could smell garlic and rosemary in the air. But now he felt something else. Something cold. He turned toward the walk-in freezer at the end of the hall. The door was closed, just like always. It was not locked, just shut tight. He heard the sound again. This time it was clear. A child. Crying softly. Keanu started walking toward the freezer. He didn't run. He moved slowly and carefully. When he reached the big metal door, he placed his hand on the handle, took a deep breath, and opened it. A rush of cold air came out fast. His glasses got foggy. The cold stung his skin. Inside, the freezer was bright and humming. Everything inside was in the right place. Boxes, bags, frozen food. But near the back, something didn't belong. A small shape, curled up on the floor, between a box of frozen spinach and some metal trays. A child. The little boy had his knees pulled up to his chest. His arms were hugging his shoulders. His head was down, hiding under a hoodie. Keanu stepped inside and let the door close behind him. It was very cold, but he didn't mind. He bent down slowly. Not too close. Just enough so the boy could see his face. "Hey," Keanu said in a soft, kind voice. "It's okay. You're not alone." The boy didn't move, but he looked up just a little. His big eyes stared at Keanu like he wasn't sure he was real. Keanu took off his coat and placed it next to the boy. "You don't have to talk," he said. "But if you're cold, this will help." The boy looked at the coat, then slowly reached out and grabbed it. That was enough. Keanu moved closer. Gently. Quietly. He wrapped the coat around the boy, picked him up in his arms, and carried him out of the freezer. Out into the warm kitchen. A place that should have never been cold for a child. As Keanu walked out, the kitchen went completely silent. Pans stopped sizzling. A server dropped a towel in shock. No one said a word. But every single person stared at him. Not because he was Keanu Reeves, but because he was carrying something no one expected. A little boy, wrapped in a brown coat, shaking like a leaf in a storm. Keanu didn't stop. His face was calm. He held the boy tightly, one arm under his legs, the other around his shoulders. He walked into the break room. Quietly. The break room had dim yellow lights. A small couch sat between lockers and a water cooler. Keanu laid the boy down on the couch gently, like he was made of glass. The coat was wet now. The boy's shirt was thin and cold. Keanu looked for a clean blanket on the shelf. He found one and covered the boy with it. Then he sat down beside him. No one had followed. He liked it that way. The room was quiet. The boy looked about 8 or 9 years old. He stared at the ceiling. His mouth was slightly open. His hands were tightly holding the blanket, like he was afraid it would vanish. Keanu opened a bottle of water and placed it near him. "I'm not going anywhere," Keanu said softly. "You don't have to talk or move. But you're safe now." The boy blinked once. Then came a whisper. Very quiet. "Kateria." Keanu leaned in. "Camila." The boy gave a tiny nod. Keanu stood up slowly. His breath made a little cloud in the air, even though the room was warm. He took out his phone and typed fast. Moments later, Marco, the head chef, walked in. He looked surprised and worried. Lock the doors, Keanu said. No one leaves until we find out who this child is. Sir, Marco started, but Keanu kept his voice calm. I found him in the freezer. Marco nodded, then turned and left. In just a few minutes, the whole restaurant was locked. No guests were left. It was already closing time. But now all the workers were gathered in the dining room. They whispered to each other, wondering what was going on. Keanu asked the assistant manager to bring the clock and records. He wanted to know who had used the freezer in the past 6 hours. He didn't yell. He didn't get angry. He just moved carefully, like someone who knew that being calm was better than being loud. Back in the break room, he sat next to the boy again. The boy was breathing more calmly now. His cheeks weren't so pale anymore. What's your name? Keanu asked kindly. No answer. But the boy didn't look scared anymore. That was enough. Keanu stayed beside him in silence, listening, not to the noise in the kitchen, but to the quiet sound of a little boy starting to trust again. Then he saw it. A clipboard with an address written in pencil. Camila Rivera, Unit 4B, Oak Ridge Complex. Keanu had passed that place before during late-night drives. It was between an old laundromat and a glowing payday loan sign. He didn't bring a driver or an assistant. He just grabbed his coat, left out the back door, and drove himself. It was raining again. Light and steady, tapping on the car window like a soft drumbeat. Camila. The boy, Leo, had whispered that name like it meant everything. Now, Keanu needed to find out who she was. The Oak Ridge complex looked even worse up close. The stairs were broken. The railings were rusty. It smelled like old oil and wet carpet. Keanu climbed slowly. Apartment 4B had a crooked number on the door, barely hanging. He knocked. Nothing. Then a quiet sound behind the door. A chain clicked. The door opened just a little. A tired-looking woman peeked out. Ms. Rivera? Keanu asked gently. Her eyes grew wide. Wait, are you? I own Quiet Flame, he said. I found Leo in our freezer. Her face went pale. Her hand dropped. She opened the door wider. Keanu stepped inside. The apartment was small and dark. The light flickered. The wallpaper was peeling. There were food wrappers on the counter. A sleeping bag was in the corner with old toys and a stuffed bear. I wasn't supposed to bring him, she said, rubbing her hands. But my sister's gone. Again. 3 days now. No phone call. Nothing. He gets scared when she disappears. Keanu didn't say anything. He just listened. I didn't know what to do, she said. I work nights. No babysitter would take him. I couldn't lose this job. So I told him to stay still. Just until my break. I wrapped him in my coat. I told him I'd be quick. I was only gone a little while. 2 hours, Keanu said softly. She sank into a chair. Her hands covered her face. I forgot. I got called to help in the kitchen. I didn't mean to leave him that long. Keanu clenched his jaw. Not in anger, but because he knew how close the boy had come to dying. He could have died in there, he said. I know, she whispered, crying. But if I told anyone, they'd fire me. And then I'd lose him too. He's all I have. Keanu stood quietly. Then, he took out his phone and called protective services. I'm not reporting you to get you in trouble, he said. But Leo needs to be safe. And so do you. You can't keep living like this. You can't stay quiet anymore. She nodded. She couldn't speak. Tears rolled down her face. As Keanu stood by the door, his face didn't show any feelings. He wasn't angry. He wasn't sad. He just looked serious and sure of what to do. Keanu had just come back to Quiet Flame when Richard Vale arrived. Richard came in quickly, talking loudly, and looking like someone else should fix the problem. Richard was everything Keanu wasn't. He wore a fancy suit and shiny shoes. His voice was loud, like he always wanted to be heard. He was one of the main people who gave money to the restaurant. He cared more about money than the people who worked in the kitchen. Keanu, Richard said as he walked into the dining room like he owned the place. I just got the call. What the heck is going on? Keanu didn't answer right away. He stood by the kitchen door, looking into the break room. Inside, Leo was sleeping, wrapped in 2 blankets and holding a water bottle like it was super important. "I found a child in our freezer," Keanu said quietly. "Yes, I heard," Richard said. He spoke more softly now and looked around like the walls might be listening. "We need to keep this a secret. Understand?" Keanu turned to look at him. Richard came closer. "I mean it," Richard said. "This can't get out. If people find out, it'll be bad for the restaurant. One picture, one post, and we're in big trouble. Lawsuits, health people, maybe even reporters." "There was a child," Keanu said, his voice calm. "A real child, in a real freezer, in our restaurant." Yes, Richard said. "But we can fix this quietly. Pay the family some money. Make sure the workers don't say anything." "Is that what this place is to you?" Keanu asked. "Just a logo to protect, while people get hurt behind the scenes?" Richard's jaw got tight. "I'm protecting what we built." "No," Keanu said. "You're protecting the image of it." The dining room was quiet. Only the soft hum of a fridge and the sound of dishes being put away could be heard. "You and I made a deal," Richard said in a low, angry voice. "Your name brings value. My money keeps the place open. You don't get to mess it up with some emotional speech." Keanu took one step forward. That was all he needed. "I didn't build this place just to sell food," he said. "I built it to be safe, for everyone. And if a child can almost freeze in my kitchen and no one sees it, then we already failed." Richard opened his mouth, but Keanu kept going. "If you're worried about the news, don't be. I'll make it easy for you." Keanu walked to the front of the restaurant. He reached behind the host's stand and gently picked up a framed plaque. It had his name on it. Founder, Keanu Reeves. He put it face down on the counter. "You can run this place without my name," he said, "if that's what it takes to do the right thing." Richard looked shocked, but Keanu didn't wait for him to say anything. He walked back into the kitchen. Not because it was easy, not because it was safe, but because he knew what really mattered. A child had been left in the cold, and Keanu would never let that happen again. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but inside Quiet Flame, the air felt heavy. Most of the workers came back, not because they were told to, but because silence felt heavy now. There were no breakfast orders, no loud clanging of pots and pans, just quiet talking and people glancing at the freezer, like it had turned into something scary. Keanu stood near the back wall. His sleeves were rolled up, his eyes reading the newspapers being taped beside the freezer door. Everything was being checked again. Who could go inside? When they could go in? How to keep everyone safe? But something still didn't feel right. "This didn't happen just by accident," Keanu said quietly. Rosa, the quiet dishwasher, was cleaning a counter nearby. She stopped, looked nervous, and finally spoke. "I think I heard him before," she said, her voice soft. Keanu looked at her. "A few days ago," she said, "I was in the storage room getting towels. I heard something, like crying. I thought maybe it was the ice machine or rats, or maybe I was just imagining it." She looked down, embarrassed. "I didn't check." Keanu didn't move. He didn't get mad. He just listened. "You weren't the only one," he said gently. She looked confused. "I've walked through this kitchen so many times," Keanu said. "I built this place with my own hands. But I never stopped to think if the quiet meant everything was okay, or if something was wrong." More staff were gathering around now, listening. Keanu turned to face them. "We tell ourselves we're too busy, that someone else will ask questions, that it's not our job. But then, a child ends up in a freezer." The silence that followed was real and honest. It felt like a curtain being pulled away. Marco, the head chef, stepped forward holding a clipboard. "I checked Camila's clock-ins for the past 3 weeks," he said. "She's been showing up early almost every shift." Keanu nodded. "And no one asked why," he said. "No," Marco said. "Because we're trained not to." "Not in kitchens like this," Keanu said. We just keep our heads down. Work fast. Don't ask. Don't interrupt. But sometimes, being kind means we interrupt. A server named Derek slowly raised his hand. But what if we're wrong? Derek asked. What if we speak up and it turns out to be nothing? Keanu walked over to him. He wasn't mad. He wasn't trying to be a hero. He was just steady. Then we were wrong, for the right reason, he said. I'd rather be wrong and ask a question, than be right and stay quiet while someone gets hurt. No one said anything. But Rosa stepped forward and stood beside Keanu. This time, she didn't look away. Everyone understood now. The real danger wasn't just the cold air. It was cold hearts, cold habits, and the silence that let those things grow. The chairs weren't fancy. Just break room stools, folding chairs, and old milk crates from storage. But together, they made a perfect circle in the dining room. Keanu wanted it that way. No stage. No boss at the front. No big speech. Just people. The lights were dim and warm. The coffee machine made soft noises in the background, like it was listening too. Every worker showed up, not because someone told them to, but because something had changed. Keanu was the last to walk in. He wore a plain dark shirt and had his sleeves rolled up. He didn't stand in the middle. He leaned against the wall, arms folded, eyes calm. When he spoke, it was quiet, but everyone heard him. 3 nights ago, we found a child in our walk-in freezer, he said. Everyone already knew, but hearing it again made people uncomfortable. Some looked at the floor. One person wiped their hands on their apron. He didn't get in there by mistake, Keanu said. And the woman who brought him there didn't do it to be mean. She did it because she was desperate. Quiet. Keanu stepped forward a little. But what matters even more than what happened is why no one saw it. Why didn't we ask questions? Why didn't we notice? A hand went up. It was Clara, one of the managers. We didn't know, she said softly. She said, we weren't ready for something like that. Keanu nodded. That's my fault, he said softly. People in the room started whispering. This place was supposed to be more than just work, Keanu said. I thought if the food was tasty and everyone worked hard, everything would be okay. He looked around the room. But I forgot something very important. People need to feel like they matter. He pointed to the back of the room, where the freezer was. Starting today, no one goes into the freezer or other special areas alone. Everyone has to write it down. Every door is checked, every shift written on paper. A clipboard was passed around. The first new rule written on it said, no one gets too cold. Not alone. Not scared. Rosa stood up. Her voice was a little shaky. What if someone feels bad but is too afraid to say it? She asked. Keanu looked at her kindly. Then we make a place where they don't have to be scared to speak. He turned to Marco. From today, we have someone here to help with feelings. No need for forms or appointments. Just come in. No one will judge you. He turned to Derek. We'll have a way for people to say how they feel, even without putting their name. If something feels wrong, say it. You don't need proof to care. People nodded. Some even looked a little more relaxed. One more thing, Keanu said. For leaders like me, if someone says they're having a hard time, we don't need to fix it right away. We just need to believe them. No one clapped. It was quiet for a moment. Then people started to speak. They shared small stories, old mistakes, times they were scared. It wasn't a protest. It was something stronger. Honesty. And Keanu didn't talk. He just listened. Because real change doesn't start with big answers. It starts with listening. The waiting room was painted a soft yellow, but the lights felt too bright, like they were trying too hard to be happy. Keanu sat in a plastic chair that made little creaking sounds when he moved. Across from him, a fish tank bubbles gently. Tiny orange fish swam in circles, not knowing why the man in the corner had his hands folded so tight. Keanu came without cameras or reporters. Not as the owner of Quiet Flame. Not as a movie star. Just a man who couldn't stop thinking about a little boy left in the cold. A door opened. A kind-looking social worker smiled. He's in the playroom, she said. He asked if the man with the long coat would come back. Keanu stood and followed her. The playroom smelled like crayons and peanut butter crackers. Blocks were on the floor, and a soft cartoon played on the TV with no sound. Leo sat near the window, sunlight on the rug next to him. He was drawing with his tongue sticking out a little, really focused. When he looked up and saw Keanu, his eyes got big. Not scared. Something softer. Like he knew him. Leo stood up, holding a drawing with both hands like it was very special. I made this, he said. Keanu knelt down. Can I see it? Leo gave him the picture. It was drawn with crayons, a little messy but clear. A tall person in a brown coat was carrying a smaller person in a blue blanket. On the wall behind them was a silver box with a red X over it. Above it, in big letters, was one word, safe. Keanu's breath caught in his throat. This is beautiful, he said. You kept me warm, Leo whispered. Keanu folded the picture gently and put it in the inside pocket of his coat, like it was a promise. I'm glad you're okay, he said. Leo looked down. Is my aunt in trouble? Keanu thought for a moment. She made a mistake, he said. But she didn't stop loving you. That's important. Leo nodded. Keanu took out a little notebook and pen. He opened a blank page. I can't always be here, he said. But I can write. If you ever want to talk, they'll help you send something back. He gave the paper to the social worker. She looked surprised but took it. Suddenly, Leo hugged Keanu, holding him tightly. His face pressed into the same coat that had once kept him warm. Keanu didn't move away. He just held the boy for a moment, his hand gently on Leo's head. When Keanu stood to leave, he didn't say goodbye. He just nodded and patted the pocket with the drawing. A promise, made without words. One he planned to keep. 3 days after the meeting, the freezer bell rang. It was loud. 2 metal chimes that echoed in the kitchen. For a moment, everyone froze. Then Keanu moved. He walked calmly and opened the freezer door. Cold mist came out, something they had seen before, but still didn't like. In the corner wasn't Leo. It was a teenage kitchen worker named Tomas. Tomas was crouched low, hands on his head, trying to breathe. Not because he was cold, but because he was scared. I didn't mean to, he said. I'm sorry. Keanu knelt next to him. He didn't ask questions. He didn't get mad. He just took off his coat again and gently put it on Tomas's shoulders. You're not in trouble, Keanu said quietly. But if you're in here, something hurts. Tomas nodded. I got yelled at for messing up the onions. I didn't know where to go. So I came in here. Keanu stayed beside him. No advice. No speech. Just being there. That night, someone taped a note to the freezer door. It was written in big letters by Rosa. This freezer holds food. Not people. Next to it, someone else wrote in red pen. If you hear the bell, don't just listen. Heck. There were no names. No one claimed it. Just people trying to help. Keanu didn't say anything when he saw it. But as he walked past, he gently touched the note, almost like giving it a blessing. Later, after the kitchen closed and the lights were low, Keanu sat at his usual table by the window. His coat was on the chair next to him. He took out Leo's drawing and placed it on the table. He looked at it for a long time. A tall person. A small child. A freezer crossed out. The word safe at the top. That's what it was always about. Not rules. Not news stories. Not even the name on the building. Just one true thing. People freeze long before the air gets cold. And if you listen really closely, sometimes the quietest cry is the one that changes everything. Silence isn't always safe. Sometimes the real danger is what we don't notice. A child was left in the cold. Not because people were mean, but because no one said anything. Kindness doesn't start with answers. It starts with being there. With listening when no one else does. And helping before it's too late. If you like this story, tell me in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun adventures and mysteries. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.